Good morning. Today, the New York City Comptroller's Office is releasing this report on bus service in New York City, and it is titled Behind Schedule, which unfortunately tells you most of what you need to know about New York City bus service. 1.1 million New Yorkers rely on New York City's buses. And it is no surprise, unfortunately, to anyone who has ever taken an MTA bus regularly that when we looked at bus speeds, when we looked at on-time bus arrivals, when we looked at bus bunching, what we found is the buses are slow and sluggish. And unfortunately, it's actually gotten worse. Over the last decade, the buses are now slower in every borough except Manhattan. And boy, they are still creeping in Manhattan as well. And New York's efforts, especially by the New York City Department of Transportation, but by the MTA as well, have fallen far short. There was a goal of increasing bus speed citywide by 25%, and unfortunately, things have gone in the opposite direction. In 2024, average bus speed citywide stood at just 8.17 miles per hour. If you're walking briskly, you can walk faster than that. Now, do we have anyone here from Queens? Any Queens residents? All right. You guys are the one crew who actually, your buses are moving a little bit faster, 12.6 miles per hour. That's lightning fast for New York's buses. Unfortunately, Manhattanites, we have any Manhattanites? All right. I'm sorry to say that your buses move on average at 6.29 miles per hour. And Manhattan buses have actually gotten slightly faster, and congestion pricing is helping to speed them up. And that is great, but it still speaks to how woefully inadequate New York City's efforts are to improve and speed up bus service. New York City buses fail to reach their stops at their scheduled time 30% of the time, and express buses are off schedule 47% of the time, and they actually have longer waits between buses, longer headways, and so people can be standing or waiting at those buses for an extremely long time. Over half of bus lines with headways under 10 minutes are delayed regularly due to bus bunching, where several buses come all at one time, and then there's a long wait after that when you actually need the bus to come. One example, and this shows that we really go by the numbers in the New York City Comptroller's Office, because the Q24 is bunched 23% of the time. And I said to them, can't you just say the Q24 is bunched 24% of the time? But we go by the numbers here at the Comptroller's Office. The Q24 is bunched up 23% of the time. And that means that although riders are supposed to only have to wait 3 minutes at peak hours in between buses, they often wind up waiting 9 minutes or more while those buses are bunched up. So now I do want to give one example of where things are better than that, because SBS, Select Bus Service buses, like the one right here on 14th Street, those are on time 75% of the time, because they have modern bus technology, transit signal priority, they have dedicated bus lanes, and they are able to deliver on-time services dramatically more of the time. Now, I want to get to what we're supposed to be doing, because the MTA, the DOT, and the New York City Council have all created actionable bus plans, things that will actually make bus service better. But unfortunately, the DOT and the MTA have been abandoning bus riders at speeds faster than the buses are moving, by canceling new select bus service lines, by installing far fewer dedicated bus lanes than the law requires, and by blocking all-door boarding, which would be a fantastic and easy improvement. So let me talk a little about those failures, and then we'll talk about the plans that we have together with this great coalition of transit advocates and advocates for people with disabilities and sustainability in New York City. So, since 2022, DOT was supposed to have built 80 miles of protected bus lanes under New York City's streets plan. Anyone want to guess how many we've actually built? Some of you actually probably know. Out of 80, huh? A quarter. You're almost exactly right. 23 miles out of 80 legally required dedicated bus lanes are what New York City has actually built. DOT has installed fewer bus lanes over the past 3 years than the de Blasio administration did in its final 2 years. So rather than accelerating, it has slowed down dramatically. Meanwhile, the MTA and DOT have essentially abandoned SBS, Select Bus Service, or Bus Rapid Transit implementation, completing only 60 of the 30 potential corridors, and right now with none of them really moving forward. And then finally, as I mentioned before, the MTA has finally reached the point where every bus has an Omni reader, not just in the front of the bus where the driver is, but at the back of the bus where those doors are. And so we could have all door boarding, which dramatically speeds the boarding on and off the buses for every bus. Doesn't have to be Select Bus Service or BRT. You just get on and off the bus faster. Unfortunately, the MTA has still refused to implement all door boarding, which has been shown to speed up speed up bus speeds by as much as 19%. We have this simple thing that we could do to significantly improve bus service on every single bus and bus route all across New York City right now by moving immediately to all-door boarding. For that 1.1 million outer borough working class and disabled riders who should not be stranded in sluggish commutes, this coalition that we have that I'm going to introduce in just a minute, are proposing a very clear and straightforward set of steps. So first, let's plan, design, and build a world-class bus rapid transit network for New York City that actually serves New Yorkers with fast and expeditious buses. And we've got a great map here. We could hear it. Let's hear it for that. We've got a great map here of some of those routes. So very simply, connecting the M15, the 1st and 2nd Avenue SBS route, with the Bronx 41 that goes north-south in the Bronx, instead of having these two disconnected routes, you could have one rapid transit service that connects folks in the Bronx to huge swaths of Manhattan. Over in Brooklyn and Queens, there's basically no easy way whatsoever to get from the neighborhood of Kensington or Flatbush out to JFK, where a lot of people work, in addition to, of course, the times you need to get out there to use the airport. An SBS route that's actually been proposed by the MTA would be a fast way for workers and commuters and travelers to get from Brooklyn to Queens. And you might remember when there was the proposal for the BQX light rail along the Brooklyn-Queens waterfront. We could do that also with bus rapid transit and have it up and running very quickly, because BRT, Select Bus Service, is deployable far faster. It is great to build out fixed rail. I'm very excited about the Interborough Express. Let's hear it for the Interborough Express. So let's be clear, there's no contradiction between building more fixed rail mass transit and doing bus rapid transit in order to expand service dramatically for far more New Yorkers. So, other things we should do. Another thing that 14th Street reminds us. So the 14th Street busway has been a tremendous success, dramatically speedy. Here's a cheer for the 14th Street busway from a passerby. Thank you. Now that congestion pricing is here, reducing traffic in Manhattan, we need to have that on 34th Street. We need to have it on 42nd Street. Let's make them also places where the buses can get commuters and tourists and folks who are here moving quickly across Manhattan. You can have a bus and protected bikeway that's working so well here on 34th and 42nd Street. And then one other thing we should be doing that cities all around the world are doing is putting our bus rapid transit, our Select Bus Service, in center running lanes rather than on the side of the street. All right, we got some real transit nerds here. If the cheers are coming for center running bus lanes. That does actually a couple of great things. First, of course, it means those buses can keep moving faster because you don't have cars turning in front of them. It also means that for the cars on that street, it's much easier for them to not have to worry about weaving in and out of bus lanes. Center running bus lanes are really very simple technology. You put the bus lane down the middle, you have safe crossings so people can go and board them. Then you've got all-door boarding. People can get on and off easily, and the buses move faster. We are going to hear from advocates for people with disabilities who are going to talk about what's necessary to make BRT genuinely work for them as well. But systems all around the world are doing it, and we can and must do it here. And then the last thing I've talked about a little bit, I'm going to say it again. We are today, one more time, and we're not going to keep stopping until we get it, calling on the MTA to implement all-door boarding on every New York City bus to dramatically speed up the time it takes for folks to get on and off the buses and help those buses get moving faster and on time. That, of course, requires a different approach to checking for fares, because if people get on and board at the back of the bus, most will tap as they're required to. You do need, just like you have on any train you will take, Eagle agents, folks who walk through the buses and make sure you paid your fare. You know, you have that if you take a train, you show your conductor that you've got the ticket, and there are Eagle agents, and we'll need to have them on the buses checking and making sure folks tapped and paid. If you didn't tap and pay, you can have an opportunity to pay then. You have to pay a little more than if you had tapped when you were supposed to. And if you don't pay your fare, you have to get off the bus. But that is a simple way of making sure that we collect the fares and keep the buses running while also dramatically improving speeds through all-door boarding. So let's get that done right away. It doesn't need to take any more time. We could have all-door boarding tomorrow. How about it? All right. Our report also includes some other things I won't go into here, ways that we can also make the buses more affordable by expanding fair fares, focus on improving management, both in getting the bus lanes built and watching the data so that you can keep routes moving more quickly. But what we're all advocating for here is the better bus service, the world-class bus service that New Yorkers have been promised but too long delayed, just like the buses they're waiting on. Let's get going on delivering world-class bus services for New Yorkers. We have a great set of advocates in New York City. We are blessed to have the best transportation advocates, and that's why we're making some progress in places and why we're going to make a lot more going forward. So let me kind of shout them all out, and then we'll invite them up to say a few words. We have with us this morning Riders Alliance. Come on, we're going to clap for each one. This is not a hold your applause till the end. Transportation Alternatives. Whoa. Center for the Independence of the Disabled in New York. Open Plans, Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee of the MTA, New York Public Interest Research Group, 504 Democratic Club, and I think that's, and also the New York City Controller's Office, well, ably represented by Nick Astor, in addition to me. And let's go through and hear from each of them now. To kick us off, we'll have Danny Perlstein, Policy and Communications Director of Riders Alliance.
Good morning. Thanks so much, everybody, for being out here. It's so great to be here. Riders Alliance is New York City's grassroots organization of public transit riders fighting for fast and reliable service. Every New Yorker deserves fast and reliable public transit service. It's the safest and most affordable way to get around. But for the half of New Yorkers who don't live near a subway stop, it's not there yet. And our buses are the slowest and least reliable in the United States. And that's an immense source of justified anger and frustration that motivates us to do better. And of course, right here on 14th Street, we have in the middle of the congestion relief zone, along the busway, we have the source of hope that leads us to believe that that can change. We know that that can change. We can have fast and reliable public transit service in every single New York neighborhood with the requisite political will. We know that it's possible. And so as riders, we are demanding that the city uphold the streets plan law. Right now we're seeing it observed in the breach. No, we need to observe it. We need to exceed it. We need those 80 miles. We need 100. We need 150 miles. We need to go beyond that. We need to have busways like we were promised on Fordham Road in the Bronx, on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. We need center running bus lanes on Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn, and we need to see the realization of bus rapid transit like the MTA has begun to imagine it on Staten Island and in Brooklyn on Utica Avenue. And we need to connect that to Queens. We need to bring it over the bridges into the Bronx and then to Upper Manhattan as well, and down the West Side. We'd like to see that too, because we can tie this whole city together. We can bring all of our neighborhoods together. We can give more access, better options to all New Yorkers with fast and reliable bus service. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Danny. All right, next up is Anna Humphrey, who's the Transportation and Voting Coordinator for Sydney, the Center for the Independence of the Disabled in New York.
Thank you, Comptroller Lander. I am the Transportation and Voting Community Organizer at the Center for Independence of the Disabled in New York. We are a nonprofit organization founded in 1978 that fights for the independence of people with disabilities in all aspects of their lives. Firstly, I would like to thank the Comptroller's Office for putting this comprehensive report together and for inviting Sydney to speak today. The findings of this bus report highlight what too many New Yorkers with disabilities already know. Our bus system is unreliable and inaccessible, and we're glad to see a recommendation to consult the disability community and apply disability travel standards when considering service changes such as bus consolidation. Many people with disabilities rely on buses as their primary mode of transit, and we really need a system that is faster, more frequent, and fully accessible. The Center for Independence of the Disabled New York Sydney urges the MTA and the city to commit fully to implementing these recommendations made by the Comptroller's Office with urgency, including updating bus operator training, implementing all-door boarding, and expanding the Fair Fares program so that all New Yorkers can really count on safe and affordable transportation. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And I also want to acknowledge Mike Schweinsberg from 504 Dems, who's been advocating to make sure that as you do bus rapid transit, which means the stations are farther apart from each other, that wherever possible you also keep local service on the same route as that we have on 1st and 2nd Avenue. So folks who need the closer, the local, just like a train, you got the local and the express. You want the express because it can move people faster and farther, and you need local service to get people from stop to stop. So thank you, Michael, for that. Next up, we have Elizabeth Adams, my friend and Deputy Director for Public Affairs of Transportation Alternatives.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Elizabeth Adams with Transportation Alternatives, and we believe that the best city in the world deserves the best transit in the world. That means faster buses, accessible buses, and fully funded buses, which this report calls for today. Unfortunately, as the Comptroller's report lays out, we are not meeting the moment when it comes to bus riders' needs. Our traffic volumes are higher than ever, which means our streets are congested, and yet our bus speeds are slower than ever. We are failing to meet New Yorkers' needs when it comes to their transit needs. And it's New Yorkers who suffer. The older adults trying to get to their medical appointment on time, parents trying to pick their kids up from daycare before they close, and students and people with accessible needs who are trying to get to where they need to go, but there's not an elevator by their subway. We should be able to look at the estimated bus route time on Google Maps and have it actually be accurate. Every time I look on Google Maps, the bus time is not what it needs to be. And that is unfair to New Yorkers who have to get where they need to go. This report calls for achievable, attainable, common sense things that we know work, starting with foremost, returning and expanding the Select Bus Service program for all across New York City. As we've seen with 14th Street, we know it works when we implement rapid transit, when we dedicate our streets to bus riders' needs. We can do this, we just have to roll it out, and we need the political will to get it done. I also want to echo Danny Perlstein's call for fully implementing the streets plan. This is a requirement and an obligation for New York City to meet our busway needs, to meet our bus lane needs, and the city is failing on its legal obligation to do so. It is time to fully meet the requirements of the streets plan, and we appreciate the comptroller's call for expanding our bus needs across New York City. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you also to the guys from the Union Square Partnership, keeping 14th Street looking good. Next up, we have Emily Chingay from Open Plans.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Emily Chingay, and I'm the community organizer at Open Plans. Buses are an integral part of our New York City streetscape, and as many of us know, the service could be so much better. Too often, our neighbors who rely on buses as their main mode of transportation are late to work, school, doctor's appointments, and more, all because of slow bus speeds and double parked cars in the bus lane. When speaking to folks around the city, one of the most common things I hear is how much they love the buses, but also how unreliable they can be. When making plans to see family and friends or going to work events, I often see too many times the bus pass me or just take way too long to arrive. We're excited for the release of this report and the many suggestions it contains to help make our commutes more efficient, most notably the expansion of fare fares and the addition of more busways. We call on the city to implement these recommendations. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Emily. One of my favorite New York transit institutions is the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, which is built in and required, and also shows you can elevate the voices of riders and citizens into government and have that built in and required, but also really show up and fight. And it's my pleasure to invite Brian Fritsch, the Associate Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee, to the MTA to come speak.
Thank you so much, Comptroller, and thank you so much for a really thoughtful and comprehensive look at bus service across the city and how we can elevate the needs of riders. Bus service really is the unsung hero of New York City Transit, connecting every corner of this city with transportation services, and we can't move as a city without it. Over 1 million riders use our city's buses every day, and their needs are not met right now, especially by City Hall. Bus service is absolutely a partnership between the MTA and City Hall, and right now we have a mayor that is totally abdicated on his responsibility to move riders around the city efficiently and effectively. So we look forward to talking more, especially about bus rapid transit, which we do not have in this city and absolutely deserve. We're going to be releasing a report in the next couple of weeks that goes an even deeper dive into bus rapid transit service and what it would mean to New Yorkers. But the Comptroller has given us a great start here in talking about some of the absolutely key elements that are necessary. So thank you so much for uplifting the voice of riders, making fare fares a priority and expanding it to 200%, which would make over 400,000 New Yorkers eligible for the program who are not today. The mayor should absolutely get that done this year during the city budget, and we will hold his feet to the fire on that. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Brian, for elevating that point about fare fares, whose expansion is critical and advocated in this report. And we look forward to seeing the BRT report that you guys have coming in a few weeks. Last but certainly not least, New York Public Interest Research Group has long attended to the buses. And if you were thinking, wasn't there a report about New York's pokiest, where the buses get rated? NYPIRG has long been a tremendous advocate on both bus and subway service for strap hangers, launching the Strap Hangers campaign. And I want to give a special shout out to Gene Rushinoff, the longtime dean of the transit advocates in this city and a friend to many of us, for his extraordinary example, standing up and fighting for all New Yorkers including New Yorkers with disabilities, including for kind of civil rights and the environment, and especially for New York City's strap hangers and bus riders. And it's my pleasure to invite Damian Andrade from NYPIRG to close us out.
Thank you so much, New York City Comptroller Brad Lander. My name is Damian Andrade, and I'm a project coordinator here at NYPIRG and a proud recent graduate student of Brooklyn College. As a dedicated advocate for students and a daily rider of the New York City bus system, I'm here to speak on the urgent issue affecting college students across the city, the need for better, more reliable bus service. For countless students in New York City, public transit is not just a convenience, it's a lifeline. It's how we get to class, it's how we get to work, it's how we get to internships, and to the campus activities that shape our college experiences. But the reality is, our current bus system makes those essential trips incredibly difficult. As a former student myself, I know what it's like to stand on a crowded corner waiting for the bus that's either too full or running far behind schedule. I lived it, and now I hear it every day from students I work with. These delays and disruptions don't just cause frustration, they take away from our education, our opportunities, and our time. At NYPIRG, we're fighting for a transit system that truly serves students. That means more than just routes on a map. It means reliable, faster, and accessible service. We need real investments in high-quality, center-running bus lanes, expanded selected bus service, and busways in high-traffic corridors like Flatbush Avenue. These improvements will help ensure that buses keep moving even when the streets are congested. By making buses faster, more frequent, and more accessible, we can build a system that works not just for some, but for all of us. A system that helps students show up to class on time and to work. A system that supports our future. New York City deserves better buses, and students deserve a transportation system that they could count on. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Damian. Thanks very much, Damian, both for holding up Gene's legacy and for just reminding us of who it is that's riding these buses and how many students. I went last year both to the College of Staten Island, which is impossible to get to unless there's better bus service, and also Kingsborough Community College. And those two schools just by themselves have tens of thousands of students who need better buses, both to get to class, but also we want our students able to be doing internships and getting around the city. So thank you for repping them here. I want to give credit to Sindhu Bharadwaj, who's the lead policy investigator and writer on this report, for her great work on this and leading all our transit work in the Comptroller's office. Thank you very much to Nick Astor, who leads our work advocating for people with disabilities, to every advocate who is out here this morning, and we'll be glad to answer some questions. And Sindhu, why don't you come up in case we get any that require your... So on the all-door boarding, and I just want to be clear, I'm just speaking for myself, and the Comptroller's Office advocates may have different points of view on this. I think that the expansion of Eagle officers, of Eagle enforcement, has to be one element of all-door boarding. You need people, again, every train, whatever you're on, you pay for your fare, and then someone comes in and checks your ticket, and that's the sort of the normal course of business. For expanding all-door boarding and having people go in and out of those back doors and being comfortable to know that people are tapping, you're going to have people moving through the buses and making sure you can do that in a way that is not like law enforcement, but is like making sure people paid their fares. And if they didn't, they get an opportunity to pay then. It just costs more if you pay on board than if you tapped when you boarded. And so that is, and a pilot is a fine idea. Let's pilot expanding all-door boarding on several bus routes to show that it's working. But it really makes, I'm not sure I even understand what the point, like what was the point of adding the Omni readers at the back of the bus if there's no all-door boarding? Is like a huge waste of money otherwise. If everyone has to board through the front, I just don't even understand what the point of it, putting the Omni readers in the back was. It's pretty self-evident. The purpose of having the Omni readers in the back of buses is to facilitate all-door boarding. It is the simplest thing we could, I mean, we've got a lot of great recommendations in here for speeding up bus speeds, but the thing that's fastest and easiest is that, and it takes no new infrastructure. We already have the infrastructure. It doesn't take anything new on the streets, and it'll dramatically increase bus speed. So, we're just going to keep pushing and organizing. That's why we're out here. That's why there is this recommendation. New York City is going to get to all-door boarding. The question is when, and we want it sooner than later. On this question of the additional cost of SBS and BRT,
Well, there was an opportunity to bring back SBS with the bus network redesigns that the MTA initiated, and we haven't seen them take advantage of that opportunity. And maybe they will with the Brooklyn bus network redesign, but it sounds like New York City DOT is not being a good partner to them in that program. So we haven't spoken to them about this, but this is like the reason we brought it up in the report. I think we're disappointed by that decision.
I guess I'll just add, I mean, this really is a takes two to tango situation. You need an enthusiastic MTA and you need an enthusiastic DOT that wants to do the bus lanes. If you know you've got a city that has barely done a third of the bus lane network that was required by law, that's not a city that's leaning forward and saying, let's get more protected bus lanes. Let's do these interborough routes. So a mayor, the mayor can't, do it by himself, but a mayor that was pushing to do it, that was pushing forward on the bus lanes and trying to engage the MTA can find a way. I mean, look, let's start with the fact, as is in the report, that the Adams administration has installed fewer bus lanes in the 3 years they've been in office than the de Blasio administration did in their last 2 years, and that included the pandemic, which was extremely disruptive in government. So, I mean, this is an administration that has failed utterly to implement the NYC Streets Plan, and let's be clear, isn't even trying. We just learned this week that they are canceling a bike lane project on 3rd Avenue in Brooklyn, just like political caving to opposition. What canceled Fordham Road was not a problem of timelines. It was a problem of political cowardice. What almost canceled and crimped McGuinness, the same. I mean, this is an administration that has chosen not, to implement the NYC Streets Plan, and that now we're seeing the results. Thank you guys so much. This was great. Really appreciate you all. Nice job, Sindhu, on the report. And let's keep pushing. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Great. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Great to see you again. Yeah. Good to see you. All right, Sindhu, good job. Yeah. Oh, better than okay.